Hi, this is Anil and welcome to the video tutorial for the learning line on C++ programming. So in this tutorial we're going to learn how to overload the increment and decrement operators when they are used as prefix. So all of us know that when we use this increment and decrement operators as prefix, their meaning is different, and when we use them as postfix, their meaning is different. So here in this tutorial we're going to learn how to overload the increment and decrement operators when they are used as prefix. For example, let's say if we had a variable called x, and if you write plus plus x, at that time what happens is, in this statement only, first the value of this x will be incremented and then the value is used. But if you use x plus plus or this increment operator in the postfix form, at that time the value of x will be used in this statement and then the value will be incremented. So we can notice the change in the next statement. So I'm going to show you how to overload this increment and decrement operators when they are used as prefix in this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we're going to learn how to overload them when we use them as postfix. And also I'm going to teach you how to overload this increment and decrement operators by using a friend function. So let's get started. So here, for the demonstration purpose in this tutorial, I have a class called marks and it has a member called mark. And then we have the public access specifier and we have two constructors. One constructor is the default constructor and it's going to initialize our member variable mark to a value of 0. And then we have another user defined constructor which is going to take one value and it's going to initialize the member mark with the value passed to it. Alright, then we had a public method which is going to print out the value stored in the member mark. Alright, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna overload the plus plus operator in the prefix form. So here in this tutorial I'm gonna overload this plus plus as a class member and we're gonna overload the minus minus as a friend function, so we can demonstrate both the things. So here, to overload the plus plus operator, first we need to specify the return type. Depending on your program, what you want to do with that operator related to your class, your return type and the operator function is gonna differ. But here, just for the demonstration purpose, our operator function is not gonna return any values. That's why it's gonna be void. And then we need to write the keyword operator and then the operator which is plus plus and a pair of parentheses and then the body. So here, make a note that we are not passing any values. That's because this plus plus or this increment operator is a unary operator. It operates on only one operand. And also all of us know, when we define an operator function as a member of a class, the current object will be passed implicitly or it will be passed automatically by the C++. And that's why we're not gonna specify any parameters here. So this is how you guys can define a unary operator function in C++ when they are used as prefix. Alright, now we're gonna write the function body. So what we need to do is we need to increment the value of this mark. So here we can directly refer to that. That's why I'm gonna write mark plus equal to 1, which is equal to mark plus 1. Alright, now we have overloaded the increment operator when it is used as prefix. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna overload the decrement operator when it is used as prefix. And also we're gonna overload that by using a friend function. So we need to declare the prototype here. So it's gonna be friend, the friend keyword, and then the return type. This unary decrement operator is also not gonna return any values. That's why I'm gonna use void and then the operator, then minus minus, which is the operator symbol, and then a pair of parentheses and then semicolon. So here, since this operator function is a friend function of this class and also this minus minus or this decrement operator is a unary operator, it works on only one operand and we need to specify that here, because it is not a member function or the member method of this class. So here I'm gonna write marks and we're gonna take the value by reference, so I'm gonna specify and here. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to define the body of this friend function. So I'm going to copy that and paste it after the definition of the class, and in this curly braces we can write the body of this operator function for this unary decrement operator when it is used as prefix. Alright, now here we need to specify a variable. So let's say yum, and we just need to decrement the value of this mark of the object. So it's gonna be yum dot mark minus equal to 1, and that's it. So now we have overloaded the unary increment and decrement operators when they are used as prefix. And the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna create the object of this class mark, and we're gonna use the overloaded increment and decrement operators. So it's gonna be marks, the class name, and then the object name. Let's say Anil's mark, and we can initialize the value, let's say 68, and then we're gonna use the your mark please method and display the value. So it's gonna be Anil's mark, the object name dot your marks please, the method. And now we're gonna use the increment and decrement operators. So now I'm gonna use the increment operator in a prefix form. That's why it's gonna be plus plus, then Anil's mark, and that's it. And in the next line I'm gonna write Anil's mark, and I'm gonna call the your marks please method, and I'm gonna copy these two statements and I'm gonna paste it in the next line, and I'm gonna change this one to minus minus or the decrement operator. Now since we are returning a void type from this operators, we can't directly call this method from this object right here, because this operator is going to return void type. If this operator was returning an object of this class marks, then we would have directly used this method right here, but since our return type is void here, we can't do that. Alright, now I'm going to save this, I'm going to build and run this program, and now you guys can see we get your mark is 68, the value we initialized, and because of this increment operator your mark is 69, and then we have decremented the mark, and that's why we get your mark is 68. And I told that because of this void return type we are not able to call this method directly here. So what we can do is we can change that. We just need to change this one to marks, and here we're gonna return star this, this pointer is going to contain the address of the current object, and also here is going to be, instead of void it's going to be marks, and we need to change this one to marks, and we're going to return yum. So now I can directly call this method in this place, so I'm going to remove this dot, and here also. Alright, and also just to solve the complexity we're going to use the parentheses, just to make it clear, otherwise the compiler is going to generate the error. That's why I'm going to cover that using the parentheses, and now it is clear. So first the value will be incremented, and then we are calling the your mark please method. So I'm going to save this, I'm going to build and run this, and you guys can see 68, 69, 68. So it is not necessary to do that, but I just wanted to demonstrate that. That's it. So this is it, guys. This is how you guys can overload the unary increment and decrement operators in the prefix form, and also this is how you guys can overload them using the friend function. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. In the next tutorial we're gonna learn how to overload the unary increment and decrement operators when we use them in the postfix form. So I'll see you in the next tutorial.